Good morning and Shabbat Tov, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning as we are studying together a new Perashah. We are studying together Perashat Korah, and our Perashah, of course, primarily deals with Korah. Okay, if you studied the Perashah in the past, then you know the story. Korah is actually a cousin of Moshe. Korah is Moshe's first cousin. Okay, did we know that? Again, if you have the family tree, imagine. So here it is. Yaakov Avinu has children. One of them is Levi. Okay? Levi had 3 sons. Gershon, Kehat, Merari. Okay. Kehat had 4 sons. Kehat. Okay, forget about everyone else. Kehat had 4 sons. Amram, Yitzhar, Hebron, Uziel. Okay, so these 4 people are brothers. Okay, imagine 4 brothers. Amram, Yitzhar, Hebron, Uziel. Amram's kids, well, we know, Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam. That's Amram. His brother Yitzhar had a son. Guess what his name was? Korah. Vayikach Korah ben Yitzhar. Korah, the son of Yitzhar. So Korah and Moshe is first cousins. Okay? Aharon, Moshe, they're all first cousins with Korah. Okay, so what's going on? He was very jealous. He was jealous. You see, Moshe and Aharon are the oldest cousins. Got the leader, he got the Kohen Gadol. Okay, fine. Now we have a new title to give out. We have a new honor to give out. Who's going to be the head of the family of Jiddo? Jiddo, grandpa Zaidi, Kehat. Kehat's the grandpa, right? Their grandpa was Kehat. Who's going to be in charge of the family of Kehat? Well, who's next in line? The next one in line after Moshe and Aaron should be the next cousin. Who's the next cousin? Korah. So Korah's getting ready. He's straightening out his tie, hair, everything. He thinks they're going to, call him up, with the Emmys. And all of a sudden, they call up the youngest cousin, Elitzaphan ben Uziel, the youngest one, Elitzaphan, who was the youngest uncle's kid. Korah over here had it. He was done, and he was jealous, and he wanted to get rid of this whole system of Moshe and Aharon. And we know they come. Vayikach Korah, he comes and he takes 250 men, strong men, not strong physically, strong in their wisdom, strong in their observance. They were very, 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 very big rabbis, you should know. These 250 men weren't clowns. They weren't bozos. They were 250 very religious, saintly people. And he convinces them that they're going to go on this coup and try to overthrow Moshe Rabbeinu. So they decide, and what was their claim? What was their claim, the 250? Say, listen, the whole system here doesn't work. Why should Aharon be the only one to do the avodah? Is that fair? Can you explain it to me? Is it fair that only Aharon should be the one that gets to pray to Hashem? We want to pray to Hashem. We want to do the avodah. We all should have a right. We all should deserve to be able to represent, ourselves. We don't need you to represent us. We want to do ourselves. We want to pray to Hashem. And by the way, this is actually a true Jewish concept. We don't believe that we need to go to someone to intercede on our behalf to Hashem. A little bit, if a person takes the concept of a Rebbe to an extreme, it becomes avodah zarah. You have to be very careful. The Rebbe is not someone who you turn to and he is in between me and Hashem. We don't believe in that. You want something from Hashem, go to him straight. We have a Rebbe as a role model, someone that inspires us. But we go to Hashem directly. We believe in that in Judaism. Other religions, they say, if you want to speak to Hashem, you got to come to me. It becomes like a monopoly on God. It's exclusive. And then you have to go through the priest or whoever. And then you got to pay them. And then this and then that. We don't believe in that. You want something from Hashem? Here's a book. It's called a Sidur. Okay? And by the way, we also educate everybody in how to read everyone's educated in understanding Torah. That's not how it used to be in other religions. Again, the book, the Bibles, the New Testament was only learned and knew how to be learned by the heads. So they could basically manipulate anything that was written, because if there was something in there that didn't fit with their life or agenda, they would just not teach it. We, as Jews, we teach from the youngest age. We teach Aleph, Bet, how to read. We give every kid a Chumash, go and study. Don't rely on a rabbi to teach you. You learn. And if there's something that doesn't sit well with you, then ask the rabbi and fight the rabbi. Here's a Siddur, go pray. You want Hashem? Go to him yourself. Don't go to the rabbi and be lazy, and you don't need the rabbi. And that's a little bit the claim of here. The claim of Korah is, we all want to do the avodah, not just Aaron. So Moshe responds, and he says, listen, let's do a test. Okay, bring the Ketoret tomorrow, and we'll determine who's really qualified to represent and do the avodah. Maybe all of you will be accepted. And then you're right, we'll all do it. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe you're right. He doesn't argue with them. He says, okay, good. You want it? Fine. Do a test. Let's bring Ketoret, take a frying pan, put on it the Ketoret, the 11 spices, and let's see if Hashem accepts it, if he brings a fire. No problem. It's like he completely doesn't address at all. He doesn't meyaches them. He doesn't take them into consideration. They come, they say, Moshe, we want it. He says, good. You want it? Go ahead. Good luck. Try. Fine. It's fine. Okay. Can I finish learning now? Could I finish? Yeah. He's not bothered at all. No argument. No Gemara. Nothing. Very simple. You want it? Go ahead. Let's see. Maybe you're right. Then he gives an argument. But he doesn't give the argument to everybody. The Pasuk says, Vayomer Moshe el Korah. He then turns to Korah and to his immediate people. And he says, listen here, the sons of Levi. Okay? Shemuna b'nei Levi. Hamat mekem, is it not enough for you that Hashem separated you from the assembly of Israel to draw you near him, to perform the service of the Mishkan of Hashem? Levi, you guys have it better than everyone else. The rest of the 11 tribes, I hear why they're annoyed. They got 0. At least you 12, you Leviim, what do the Leviim get to do? Anyone know? Anyone know what the Leviim got to do when it came to the Beit HaMikdash? In the Mishkan? Levi, although they didn't bring the sacrifices, because that's Aaron and his kids, which is what Korach's trying to argue. It's not only fair that they get to do it, we should all. But Levi still got a piece of the action. You know that Levi every day opened the doors of the Beit HaMikdash and they closed them? They were the ones that did the doors. They held the keys. They sang, they stood on the steps while the Beit HaMikdash was in action, and they would play music, background music, good stuff. They were the ones that carried the vessels when they were moving. Moses is like, listen, you guys have so much. You're better than everyone else. You want more? You also want Kohen? It's not enough that you're a Levi, you want also Kohen? And he's going on and on and on. And it's very confusing. And it should bother us, because Moshe over here is addressing which tribe? He's addressing Levi. But we know, like we said, the 250 men that he had were from all tribes. Right? It doesn't specify the Pasuk. It says, Hamishim, 250 men from the tribes from the children of Israel. Right? If you have a Chumash, open it up. I'm going to open mine as well. It says right in the beginning, he takes 250 men. Right? It's right in the beginning. Va'anashim b'bnei Yisrael hamishim u'matayim. He took 250 men from the children of Israel. Which tribe? Doesn't say. All tribes. So here it is. Moshe has all tribes with him. Korah has all tribes with him. All 250 men are from random, scattered out different tribes. And yet Moshe completely doesn't address 11 out of the 12 tribes. When it comes to 11 out of the 12, he's just like, all right, go figure out some tests. go do the ketoret, let's see, whatever. Then he turns to Korah and says, by the way, come on, think about that. And over here, he gets into a whole argument and tries to explain it to Levi. But with the other 11 tribes, doesn't explain nothing. Why is Moshe specifying his arguments and his claim to one tribe? Why doesn't he speak to everybody? That's what would make much more sense. It's like he's completely ignoring 11 out of the 12 tribes. And by the way, he concludes with the words, Rav lachem b'nei Levi. He only addresses Levi and the family of Levi. Why not the other 11 tribes? That's the question. On a separate question, if we could ask one more question, Moshe, as he's giving his argument to Korah, he says to him, right here, Pasuk Tet, Pasuk 9. Ham'at mekem ki hivdil Elokei Yisrael etchem adat Yisrael. Is it not enough that Hashem has separated you from the assembly of Israel to draw you near to himself, to perform the service of the Mishkan and to stand before him? Meaning, like we said, is it not enough that you have other jobs? You want more than that? What you have is not enough? You're not happy with what you have? Now, how does he refer to Hashem's name in this pasuk? Anyone remember? Anyone notice? Hamat mekem ki ivdil Elokei Yisrael, the God of Israel. Now, we don't usually call Hashem by that. Hashem usually, how do we refer to Hashem? Amonai. And that's, by the way, how the pasuk here, if you go from the beginning of the pasuk, the whole time it's Hashem. Okay? Va'ubtocham Amonai. Right? Boker veyoda Amonai. Kehal Amonai. Ketoret lifnei Amonai. Asher yibchar hu asher yibchar Amonai. Okay, you get the point? Should I keep going? Okay, did I annoy you enough? Okay. Amonai, Amonai, Amonai. Just read the psukim yourself in the beginning of Parashat Korah. It's all Amonai. All of a sudden, when it comes to this pasuk, he doesn't refer to Hashem as Amonai, he calls him Elokei Yisrael. The question is, what is behind this usage of that name? Says Rabbi Bernstein something very beautiful. The argument of Korah, what is their argument? Why did they feel they should all be Kohanim? What did they want? If it shouldn't be to the Kohen, then who should it be? All 600,000 people should go do it? What they wanted was it should be firstborns of every family. Why are you limiting it to Aaron and his family? All the firstborns, every family should have a representative. The firstborn of every family should work in the Beit HaMikdash. Just like, someone's going to Israel and they say, hey, I'm going to be in Israel. I'm going to be at the Kotel today, right? And anything that you need, please forward me any names that you want to pray for, right? Every family representative goes to the Kotel. They post in the family chat. And you tell them, oh yeah, pray for this. That's how it should be. You should have one representative from every family in the Beit HaMikdash. And you call them up, hey, Joe, listen, you're doing Korban today. Korban, okay, hook it up. Pray, I'm having a closing today. I hope it goes well. Could you pray for me? Yeah, that's what it should be. Every family should have a representative. Not only one tribe of Levi or Kohen. By the way, that's how it used to be. Originally, the plan was, before the Avodah was Kohanims, it was originally supposed to be the firstborns. And that was because God killed all the firstborns in Makat Bechorot in Egypt. And therefore, all the firstborns are mine, God says. Originally, the firstborns were supposed to be the ones to do it. That's all they wanted. Just, go back to that system. Now, instantly, their argument is flawed. The second they open their mouths, they don't even have an argument. Why not? They don't even have a single argument. Why not? You're right. It was supposed to belong to the firstborns, but guess what? You messed up. You did something called Chet HaEgel. Remember that little calf that you bowed down to? Remember that little thing, right? So you lost it from that. So how can they just come and ignore that ever happened? And say, hey, I wanna be the firstborn. I want to work in Beit HaMikdash. The Egel. Just completely ignoring it as if it never happened. Things are different. Sorry to tell you. In life, there are consequences. Guy beats up his wife. He calls the next day, honey, where are you? I woke up today, I didn't see you in bed next to me. What's going on? What do you mean, what's going on? You beat me up. I'm getting a divorce. You're getting served, you know? What do you think's going to happen? You can't just ignore the fact that, you know. So, not only that, that's right away their argument falls. Except for one tribe. There's one tribe that never did Chet HaEgel. Which tribe? The tribe of Levi. So if you think about it, there is room to argue for at least that tribe, Levi, that they should not be impacted by the Egel. So if originally the plan was the firstborn should represent, then that's how it should stay for at least that one tribe of Levi. If you're going to change the plan for everyone, that's fine. They did the sin, they lose out. Imagine one tribe sinned. What would Moshe say? Okay, you guys lose out. The other 11 were sticking to the program. Firstborns from all of you are going to come work in the Beit HaMikdash, right? I know what happened. Now imagine 2 tribes sinned. Okay, you 2, no one. The other 10, we're going to have a representative. Imagine 6 tribes sinned. You 6, no one. The other 6 are going to have a representative, the firstborn. Imagine 11 tribes sinned. So one tribe that didn't sin is going to have the firstborn. You stick to the original program. We're not going to change the system. Why? And that's the only argument that actually makes sense. That's why when the 11 come, when the Korah comes with 250 men, to all of them he's like, listen, all right, you want to go back to how it was before the Egel? I can't really argue with you. You know, you can't argue with someone that makes no sense. Right? So, whatever, let's do a Ketoret tomorrow. All right, be here at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. works for you? You have any meetings? No? Okay, 10 a.m. Come. Let's do the Ketoret. Let's see. Okay? The only argument that he has to actually address is Korah's. Because someone like Korah is a firstborn. He's from the tribe of Levi. And he has all the qualifications required to perform the avodah in the Beit HaMikdash or in the Mishkan, and he should never lose it. He never did the Egel. And that's why Moshe only gives attention to explain to them. Now, that's the case. What is the answer that he gives to Korah? What is the answer? It's a very good question. This is a good question. Yeah? If Korah and Levi never sinned, the program should stay with the firstborns amongst the tribe of Levi. How come did Levi? This is a great question, by the way, to just ask yourself. If you want to write in the answer, let's see. Why did Levi lose the firstborn? The firstborn. Right. God just ripped up the original script and just created a new thing called Kohanim. Why? Okay? The idea is over here, says Rabbi Bernstein, because at the end of the day, you didn't do the Egel, but you're part of Am Yisrael. Being part of a people means you share in the good and you share in the bad. When you're in a family, you get to go to the weddings. That means you also have to go to the funerals. You can't just be there for the good things. You know, there's a very beautiful story about a rabbi, I forgot his name, rabbi, you know, a couple of generations back in Iraq or one of these Middle Eastern countries. One day maybe it was Syria, and on Tisha B'Av, he's walking by Tisha B'Av, and he sees this man eating in the middle of the street. Tisha B'Av. Back then, even if you didn't keep it, you were embarrassed. You ate in your house in private. This guy is sitting there in the street, eating, you know, in front of everybody. All of a sudden, the rabbi walks by. And people, you know, back then, they feared the rabbi. The rabbi walks by, and the guy keeps munching away. And he thought for sure the rabbi is going to punish him or, you know, put him in excommunication for a month. The rabbi said nothing. All he did was he walked right by, and the guy's like, Tisha B'Av, you know, Tisha B'Av, what are you doing? You're eating on Tisha B'Av. I was like, come on, Tisha B'Av already. 2,000 years, we're still fasting on this silly thing. Come on, we're in 2021. Let's get with the times, Tisha B'Av. Right? That's what he said. Okay. Anyways, the rabbi walks by. He nods. He continues going. A week passes, nothing. A month, nothing. Finally, 6 months later, it's Purim time, and the rabbi, he calls the officers that he had. He says, could you do me a favor? The man that owns that store that ate on Tisha B'Av, could you please bring him to me? And they say, sure. He says, yeah, whatever he says, just tell him I need him now. He said, no problem. Rabbi, you got it. Back then the rabbis, they had protectia. They were well connected. Even the king used to give them, they used to give them, sometimes officers to help them, institute and enforce certain laws. Anyways, these two officers, they get to the store of the man, Purim day, the busiest day of the year for a person that owns a store. He's selling food, everyone's buying mishloach manot. Anyways, they come to a store, Purim, or maybe it was Erev Purim, and they say, the rabbi needs to speak to you. So the man remembers what happened to Tisha B'Av, and he says it's probably because of that. He says, all right, listen, tell the rabbi I'm very busy today. I'll be there tomorrow. So they look at each other, they look at the man, they say, I don't know if you heard us. The rabbi said he needs you. He says, all right, I'm going to come tomorrow. He says, listen, the rabbi needs you. Needs you now. Either come your way or you come our way. Says, all right, I'm coming. He closes the store quickly, let's go. I'm very busy today, as you can see, I have a lot of customers. Let's go. He runs into the rabbi's bed. He goes, yes, Rabbi, what can I do to help you? You're upset that I ate on the Tisha B'Av. What would you like? You want money? What do you need? The rabbi simply looks at the man. He looks at the officers. He says, please escort this gentleman to the back cell and detain him. He says, what? He's screaming, Rabbi, you can't do this to me. This is not fair. They grab the man. They start pulling him. He says, Rabbi, what are you doing? This is Purim. It's the biggest day. How can you do this to me? He throws him into the back cell, and he's screaming and he's yelling. And his store, of course, all the customers can't buy anything from him. They go next door. They go down the block. The whole day passes by, and he loses out on all of his business. Next day, the rabbi says to the officers, you could please let him out. So the man runs out, and his voice is already hoarse from yelling all night long. He's in tears. He runs to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, how could you do that to me? This is my parnassah for the next 2 months. How could you punish me on Purim of all days? So the rabbi goes, I don't understand. What's the problem? You ate on Tisha B'Av, so I'm putting you in jail for a day. He goes, yes, Rabbi, but you put me in jail. But why'd you put me today on Tisha B'Av, on Purim? He goes, what's Purim? He goes, what do you mean, Rabbi, what's Purim? Purim, it's the biggest day. Remember when Haman wanted to kill the Jews 2,000 years ago, and we were saved, we celebrate. So the rabbi looks at him. He goes, what to Purim 2,000 years ago? Come on, get with the times. We're in 2021. What are you still celebrating Purim for? And the man understood the message. You can't just celebrate Purim and then ignore Tisha B'Av. Either we commemorate old events or we don't. But you can't pick and choose. Right? And that's what it says in the Pasuk. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach Yemini. If you want to forget Jerusalem and the Beit HaMikdash's destruction, no problem. Tishkach Yemini, but you also have to forget Yemini, Ish Yehudi, Haya Beshushan Habira, Ushmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimei ben Kish, Ish Yemini. You want to forget about Yerushalayim, then you also disregard Purim. You can't just keep the good holidays and then ignore the bad ones. Being part of a family means you experience the positives and you experience the negatives. And if that's the case, you're right. You weren't guilty of the Egel. But when 11 of the tribes are guilty of Chet HaEgel and circumstances changed for them, they change for you. You're part of the family and you have to suffer with them. And this is actually why, as an example, we just read Megillat Ruth. Elimelech, when there was a famine, he left. He left the land of Israel. He said, listen, I don't have to worry about this famine. I have money. I can move out for, a year till COVID shapes up, and then I'll come back. And he moves out, and he goes to where there's food, and he ignores, and he leaves, and he abandons his people in a time of famine. You don't do that. Being part of a people, being part of a family, being part of a nation means being there for them in the good and the bad. A lot of times we like to go and we like to experience and we like to be with our friends or family when they're celebrating or when there's good news, and we right? But when they're suffering, all of a sudden, right, we don't know them, we forget to call them, we forget to spend time with them, right? Imagine people that have a pool in Deal in the summer. In the summer, they're so popular. All the cousins, hey cousin, how's it going? What are you doing today? Can I come over? Can I use your pool, right? And you go over on Sunday and you hang out with them all of the day. The whole 10 weeks of the month, of the year, so popular. Now in the winter, then all of a sudden no one needs a pool, and you forget about them, and we don't call them, and then when they need us, we're busy. You can't act like that. That's not how it works. Moshe's argument to them is that to continue as if the Egel never happened means detaching yourselves from the rest of the people. You know, Yaakov Avinu on his deathbed, if you have a Chumash, I want you to open it up because you'll really appreciate this. Turn to, please, Bereshit. When Yaakov is blessing his children on his deathbed, he says, Reuven, he curses him, his anger. Reuven, he acted with too much haste. In life, you got to be a little bit deliberate. Okay. Now he gets to Shimon and Levi. Okay, after he rebukes Reuven, Reuven, you were supposed to be the firstborn, and you were my first seed, but you're going to lose it all because of what you did with moving my bed, and da-da-da-da. Now Shimon and Levi. He says, you guys, your weaponry is a stolen craft. Besodam al tabo nafshi. Into their conspiracy, may my soul not enter. Ubikhalam al tehad kevodi. With their congregation, do not join, O my honor. What's he referring to? Besodam al tavo nafshi. This is referring to the incident of Zimri. Zimri was from the tribe of who? Zimri was from the tribe of Shimon. Says Rashi, when the tribe of Shimon gathered around Moshe and they brought the Midianite, and they said, we're going to read about this in a couple of weeks, but could Zimri marry this Midianite queen or no, this lady? Moshe said, no, she's not, she's Midianite. So they said back, well, guess what? Tzipporah is also. If you can marry her, why can't we marry her? Not fair. Or just because you're the rabbi, you get to do things that we don't get to do? Right? Now, obviously, there's a big difference. Right? Moshe married her before the Torah. There was no sin about marrying someone who was a Midianite. But either way, so Yaakov says, when that story is happening, I don't want to be mentioned there. Right? Because it says, Zimri ben Salu nesiv bet Av lashimoni. Yaakov Avinu prays, don't mention my name in that episode. Hey, Mike. Yep, I'm going to come down in 10 minutes, okay? Yeah, in 10 minutes. You want to wait for me right here in that room? Thank you. Okay, so this is the episode of Besodam al tabo nafshi. Okay, then he continues and he says, Bikalam al tehad kevodi. I don't want them to be I don't want my name to be mentioned either in the horrible congregation. Which congregation is he referring to? He's referring to the congregation of Korah. Korah. Okay? In the story of Korah, Bikalam al tehad kevodi. The pasuk says, Vaikach Korah ben Yitzhar ben Kehat ben Levi. Okay, go to mommy. Okay? Michael, take her to mommy. Coming down in 10 minutes, okay? Vaikach Korah ben Yitzhar ben Kehat ben Levi. But it doesn't say ben Yaakov. Leaves out Yaakov's name. Why? Because Yaakov prayed, I don't want to be mentioned with Korah and with his family. Okay. Now the pasuk then continues. Ki, because be'apam hargu ish. In their anger, they murdered people. Ubertzonam ekeru shor. And with their will, they hamstrung an ox. So basically, just to recap what we just said, there's two events later on in history that Yaakov praised he does not want to be associated with. One is Zimri, and one is Korah. We don't care right now for Zimri. Our parasha is Korah. And he continues, because they killed people and they hamstrung an ox. So there's the A-B formula. A-B. A is connected with A, B is connected with B. So somehow there's a connection between hamstringing an ox and Korah. Now we know hamstringing an ox is a metaphor. Who's the ox? Ox is Yosef. When Yaakov blesses Yosef, he calls him Shur. Okay? Benot Sa'ada ale Shur. Yosef is an ox. Okay? So they hamstrung an ox. That means the brothers, they wanted to kill Yosef. Over here, Yaakov seems to be hinting that he knows what happened with Yosef. You tried to kill him. You tried to sell him. You hamstrung an ox. How is that story of selling Yosef, killing Yosef almost, connect to Korah? Because he says, A-B, ki, A-B. Because A-B, so it's a result. But again, we have to understand, based on what did the brothers try to kill Korah? The brothers tried to kill Yosef. How do you kill your brother? How do you sell him? And they're not Reshaim, they're not bad people, they're good people. But the answer is, they felt that Yosef was a murderer. Yosef was trying to separate the family. Because till now, Abraham had two kids, Yitzchak, Ishmael. Yitzchak is good, Ishmael is bad. So the family tree continues only through one son. Again, Yitzchak has two sons, Yaakov, Esav. Esav is out, Yaakov is good. The family tree continues through one son. Yaakov has 12 sons, Yosef and the other 11. And Yosef's tattletaling the whole time, constantly bringing bad gossip about the brothers to their father. And they saw it from their angle. Look what Yosef's trying to do. He's trying to be that one continuing son, dividing the other 11. You don't do that. We're one unit. Don't divide the family. And that's why they tried to kill Yosef. Says Yaakov to Shimon and Levi, if you saw that so simply and so clearly with Yosef that you don't divide the family, you should have took the same lesson to Korah. And therefore, let my name not enter the council of Korah. It's the same exact message. Korah failed to realize that you're right, maybe you didn't specifically do the Egel, but you still should have shaped up and realized that I'm part of the Jewish people. If one Jew is guilty, I'm guilty. Kol Yisrael arevim ze lazeh. All the Jewish people are connected one to another. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we see other Jews and we don't really have any care or sensitivity or compassion because they're different than us. They're Ashkenaz, they're Sephardic, they're Syrian, they're Halabi, they're Shami, they're Moroccan, they're black hat, they're white hat, they're Hasidish, they're religious, they're not religious. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Hashem don't care. We are all part of Am Yisrael. And if one Jew is guilty, we should feel the responsibility. And we have to work on our Ahavat Yisrael. And unfortunately, you see it a lot in all communities. Everywhere in the world, even with the religious, even with the not, it does not matter. Everyone is guilty of this to one degree or another, and we have to work on our Ahavat Yisrael. We have to ask ourselves, the takeaway of this class is not hang up and say, yeah, Rabbi was right. Those people should get along. That's not the goal. The goal is we should hang up and say, who can I get along with today that I don't usually get along with? Which type of Jew do I usually see and I don't really, appreciate them? I don't, we have different hashkafot, and that's okay. You don't have to have the same philosophy as another Jew. There were 12 tribes at the end of the day, and they were different for a reason. We could think differently, we could have different hashkafan of views, but that we should care and love every single person in Am Yisrael. And that's something that's a little bit hard to do. Someone comes and he asks us for help, and we see them and we say, listen, you're not my kind, get out of here. You're not my kind. Go to your kind, go to your own. And the way we remove that hatred is by helping, by giving. It's counterproductive. We think that we give because we love. It's the opposite. We give so that we start loving. And that with that, by the way, we understand as well, why is the name Yisrael the one used? Why not Hashem, like we asked in the beginning? Right? And the answer is, the name Yisrael is always used whenever we're describing the Jewish people as comprised specifically of 12 tribes. Whenever there's 12 tribes, we use the name Israel. So as an example, when Eliyahu Hanavi was performing the miracle on Har HaKarmel, it says he took 12 stones and he says, V'asher haya devar Hashem elav lemor, Yisrael yihye shemecha. You see, Israel is the 12 tribes. Again, when it came to Pelegesh Begiv'ah, Lama Hashem Elokei Yisrael, why God of Israel? Haytazot beYisrael, lehipaked hayom meYisrael, shevet echad. Why destroy a tribe? Hashem Israel. Israel is always used when it comes to the 12 tribes as one unit. Therefore, because over here, Levi is trying to separate themselves and say, we're not guilty of the Egel. Moshe uses the name Israel, trying and hoping to remind them we are a unit of 12. If that's the case, Rabotai, and we'll end with this, I'll show you one last thought that he says over here. The Gemara tells us that one day Rabbi Bar Hana was walking and he saw an Arab nomad. And the Arab nomad said, come with me, I want to take you somewhere. And he took him to the place that Korah and his men were swallowed into the ground. Did you know that? This Arab nomad knew where this place was. If anyone wants, you can call me after and I'll tell you where it is. No, I'm kidding, I don't know. He knew where the place was. And he takes Rabbi Bar Hana and he says, put your ear to the ground. And he puts his ear to the ground and he listens. And what did he hear? He heard someone screaming, Moshe emet, Torato emet, vehem bataim. Moshe's emet, his Torah is emet, true, but we are liars. We are liars. The Arab told Rava, this proclamation is said once a month, every Rosh Chodesh. And the question is, why Rosh Chodesh? So, by the way, in 3 days is Rosh Chodesh. If anyone wants to hear it, they could go try to find a place and you'll hear them. Okay? But why on Rosh Chodesh? Our rabbis say that the 12 months of the year correspond to the 12 tribes. And each Rosh Chodesh is another tribe. And I'm sure if you want, you could study about it. Which month is which tribe is each month and how do they connect? But on the first of every month, Korah and his men have to proclaim the falsehood of their claim, which was rejecting the unity which was associated with each of the 12 tribes. And so on every month, the month of Tammuz, they come and whatever tribe is Tammuz, they say, this month, this tribe, you are part of my people. I am part of you. The next month, you also are part of you. And every month, on every tribe, they are claiming we are all one nation. Very, very powerful. We should be zocheh to remove and divest ourselves of sinat chinam, to truly ask ourselves, who are the sects in Israel that we are maybe not the most proud of, not the closest to, and we should be zocheh to remove sinat chinam. And by doing so, we'll be zocheh to receive the Mashiach very, very soon. Moshe emet, Torah emet, to welcome the Torah and the Mashiach. Amen. We'll stop over here. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.